If you've ever driven a Cadillac with Super Cruise or a Ford with Blue Cruise, a camera has already been watching your eyes. Most drivers have no idea. But here's the part investors should care about. Starting July 7th, Europe stops asking. From that day, every single new car sold in the EU must watch its driver, by law. Roughly 13 million vehicles a year. And when a law forces an entire industry to buy one specific technology, somebody on the other side of that law gets very, very busy. Today, who builds it? 3 ways to invest in it. And the trap that has caught investors almost every time this has happened before. First, the law itself. It's called the General Safety Regulation, and the piece that matters here is a system called Advanced Driver Distraction Warning. A small infrared camera, usually on the steering column, tracks your head and your eyes. If you look away from the road for more than 3.5 seconds at highway speed, the car warns you. At city speeds, it allows 6. New car types have needed this since 2024. But from July 7, 2026, it applies to every new car, van, truck, and bus registered in the EU. No system, no sale. Brussels expects these rules to save more than 25,000 lives and prevent at least 140,000 serious injuries by 2038. And before you ask, the regulation requires the system to work in a closed loop. Your face isn't supposed to be recorded, stored, or sent anywhere. Whether you trust, that is your call. But this video isn't about the cameras, it's about the money. Because demand for this technology just stopped being optional. And in investing, that almost never happens. Most companies spend fortunes convincing customers to buy. The rarest setup in markets is when the customer has no choice, when demand is written directly into law. Investors call it a regulatory tailwind, and it has happened before. Seat belts were once optional extras, then laws made them universal, and the suppliers rode that wave for decades. Catalytic converters were mandated in the 70s, and from that day, the companies making them sold one with every single car by force of law. Notice what a mandate really does. It doesn't just create demand. It creates demand with a deadline. Every car maker on the same schedule must buy or build the same technology. So the only question that matters is, who's selling it to them? And that trail leads to a small company in Sweden that most investors have never heard of. SmartEye from Gothenburg, founded in 1999. They spent 2 decades perfecting eye tracking before the law ever showed up. Their AI software reads your gaze, head position, and posture through that little camera to catch distraction and drowsiness. And the numbers say this story is already moving. Revenue last year, about 400 million Swedish kroner, up 14%. EBITDA, positive for the first time in the company's history, barely 5 million kroner. But the year before, it was minus 82. The number of car models in production running their software jumped from 75 to 125 in a single year. And the metric that matters most in this industry, design wins. When a car maker picks your software for a future model, that's revenue locked in for years. SmartEye has 372 of them from 24 different manufacturers, with an estimated lifetime value of almost 9 billion kroner. A law forcing demand and a pure play standing right in front of it. Sounds perfect. Which is exactly why you should slow down. Because there are 3 very different ways to play this theme, and the obvious one is also the riskiest. Before I show you the other 2, and the trap that has caught investors every single time a theme looked this clean. If you're getting something out of this, take a second to subscribe. 1 clear market question, every week. Okay, 3 ways in. Way 1, the pure plays. SmartEye in Sweden, Stockholm listed with a US over-the-counter ticker. And its closest rival, Seeing Machines, an Australian company listed in London. The name may be new to you, but the product isn't. Seeing Machines is the eye tracking inside GM's Super Cruise and Ford's Blue Cruise. It's already watching drivers in more than 1 million cars. This is maximum exposure. For these 2, driver monitoring basically is the business, but they are small, thinly traded, foreign listings, companies that have only just reached profitability or haven't yet. maximum exposure, maximum fragility. If that's too spicy, there's a second way. Way 2. The giants. The big auto suppliers, names like Aptiv, Gentex, Visteon, and Magna, all play in driver monitoring, and all of them trade on US exchanges, one click away in any American brokerage account. Stable, liquid, diversified. But that's exactly the problem. For them, driver monitoring is a rounding error. If the theme triples, your stock barely notices. Easy to buy, low risk, and very little of the upside. Which brings us to the third way, the one most people miss. Way 3. Picks and shovels. Whoever wins the software war, every one of those 13 million cars needs the same hardware. An infrared camera, an image sensor, and a chip to run the AI. SmartEye's software, for example, runs on Qualcomm's automotive platforms. Companies like onsemi build in-cabin image sensors. Ambarella builds computer vision chips. With the shovel sellers, you're not betting on which software wins. You're only betting that the law gets enforced at all. It's the oldest rule of every gold rush. When you can't pick the winner, own the one selling shovels to everyone. So, force demand, and 3 ways to stand in front of it. Time to buy? Not yet. Because history has a very specific warning for exactly this setup. 3 ways this can play out. Scenario 1. A pure play wins big. The driver monitoring market is forecast to roughly triple by the early 2030s, from around $2 billion a year toward 5 or more. And a focused winner captures that growth. Scenario 2. The giants simply swallow the theme. And this is not hypothetical. It already happened. In June 2025, Samsung's Harman bought the assets of Scipia, one of the independent players. One pure play, gone, absorbed into the belly of a giant. Small companies in a strategic niche get acquired, sometimes before the thesis ever pays out. And scenario 3, the one this channel keeps coming back to, the theme is real, but it's already in the price. Remember Cisco. The internet was real. Cisco was the leader. And buying it at the 2000 peak still lost you 80%. Being right about the theme and even right about the company is not the same as being right about the price. A mandated market is a great place to fish for ideas, and it can still be a terrible place to overpay. So instead of a buy or a sell, here is what to watch. 1. The design win pace. Every quarter, are the pure plays still stacking wins, or are the giants starting to take them? 2. Consolidation. Every acquisition like Scipia changes the board, and the next one could be either of the remaining pure plays. And 3. America. The US has already passed a law requiring impaired driving technology in new cars, but the rule is delayed. Regulators admitted this spring that the technology isn't accurate enough yet, so 2027 at the earliest. The day that rule lands, this stops being a European story and becomes a global one. So here's the one idea to take with you. On July 7th, a law turns eye tracking from an option into an obligation for every new car in Europe, about 13 million vehicles a year. That is forced demand, and forced demand is rare. There are 3 ways to stand in front of it. Small pure plays with everything to gain, giants with almost nothing at stake, and the chip makers selling shovels to all of them. What there isn't is a guarantee. A mandated market does not mandate your returns. None of this is financial advice, and no company in this video is a recommendation. It's research. So tell me in the comments, pure play, giant, or shovels? Which would you choose? Subscribe. One clear market question every week.